Hello and welcome to another brand new episode of Dingers and Stingers, the podcast that, just like MLB, will spend all winter working on its abs. ABS, challenge system coming our way. We're going to talk about that a little later on. A little later, we will also talk about this wild finish to the MLB regular season that we're in for this weekend. It's going to be a thrill. We will also have an exclusive special edition of Fan Corner coming your way. Excited to reveal what that's going to be all about, and lots more coming up on this show. We got a packed show, but first, we are going to, as we did last week, and as we will continue to do throughout the rest of the regular season and playoffs for MLB, we are going to have our In Memoriam segment at the top of the show. This is our chance to say farewell to teams that were eliminated from playoff contention since the last time we recorded. And so, just as a recap of what this segment looks like, we are going to give time of death, which is the date this team was eliminated. We are going to give our thoughts on the cause of death, which is why they were not competitive this year, and what they should look forward to in the afterlife, which is this coming off season. So, with that said, that's where we're going to start. But just a general heat check as a fan of a team who is very much in this thing and who is very much going to be active this weekend and looking at results from around the league. Let's just start with how you're feeling, Drew.
Yeah, I'm stressed, but in a good way. Where the last few years, being a Red Sox fan meant that September was largely meaningless. I'd way rather be here than have the games not matter at all. And to be fair, I am currently. My team is sitting in a playoff spot where other teams are, on the outside looking in, trying to get in. So I feel okay. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of scoreboard watching in a sense that I haven't experienced in quite a while. I am watching the Red Sox game here right now. They're currently winning in the eighth inning, so that's good. Hopefully they can hold on to that. And the Guardians beat the Tigers already today, so they are officially tied. And I believe the Guardians already have the tiebreaker on the season over the Tigers. So that will be very interesting coming down to the wire. The Red Sox play the Tigers this weekend. I'll talk more about them throughout the episode. But yeah, it's just for what much of the season seemed like a lot of boring races has really turned exciting here in the last couple of weeks, and we're really in for a photo finish.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. But before we get to the excitement, of course, of those teams, let's get back to what we are here to start with, which is our In Memoriam. So we're going to start with you, and you are on the Tampa Bay Rays. So let's hear it.
Yeah, the Tampa Bay Rays, and I just want to point out, In Memoriams don't usually include how they died, but we're going to talk about
Right.
that. The Tampa Bay Rays, they were eliminated officially on Friday, September 19th. That's this past Friday. That was against the Boston Red Sox. So I saw it happen. But their cause of death, their reason for not being in the playoffs, injuries and just inconsistent play. I mean, it sounds pretty straightforward. They were a pretty middle of the pack team by most stats, and they're finishing in the middle of the pack this season. So it all kind of adds up. I also want to mention the fact that their home ballpark this year was the Yankees, like their spring training field. That's also their whatever Florida League stadium. So I know the Tropicana Field is not really the best ballpark anyways, but not having a home ballpark that was really truly your home ballpark, I don't think that was helpful to them. But what can they look forward to in the afterlife, i.e. this offseason and into the future? Well, Junior Caminero had his breakout year. As of right now, I believe he's at 44 home runs, which I know we've seen some crazy home run numbers the last couple of years, but that's nothing to be scoffing at. 44 as a he's what 22 years old and he's already doing that. I think he is a star in this league, and I think he'll just keep getting better. Um, this is a little more, crossing your fingers, but you would hope Shane McClanahan can finally be healthy long enough and maybe come into next season and just stay healthy. We haven't seen that in quite some time, and he's a big part of their recipe for success. Um, but yeah, they have a lot of pitching to like. They are a team that is one of the best in baseball at identifying talent and capitalizing on that talent. So like cast-offs from other teams, or you know, I'm going to say this: if you're a Rays fan, there will be roster turnover. There always is. Maybe Yandy Diaz is no longer on the team next year. I don't know, but that's a very real possibility. Brandon Lau is another guy. Maybe some of these pitchers like Drew Rasmussen. You just never know with the Rays who they're going to get rid of, but rest assured what they get back will be helpful for their team in the future. So, same as every year for the Rays. Obviously not the result you wanted, but I don't think they're a team you never have any hope in.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Ray's thoughts. I think hard to disagree with any of that. I think for Rays fans, it is always that thing of like, okay, well, maybe we weren't competitive this year, but something's going to be different. Lots of things are going to be different next year because they always are. And so it's that thing of, there's always renewed hope that is based in things are going to look different next year. So, can that version put it together? And you guys will see. But okay, so the next, we didn't talk about this at the top of the show. That's on me, but I've got the Athletics next, and I've got it because Matt isn't with us today. Obviously, he's enjoying a nice vacation, so shout out to him. He's having a good time with the fam. But yes, so I am on the Oakland Athletics, or the formerly Oakland Athletics, now in Sacramento. They were eliminated. Time of death Tuesday, September 16th. Their cause of death, in my view, was, the biggest cause would be, for me, the starting pitching just didn't overperform the way the lineup did this year. Their starting rotation was 26th in the majors by rotation ERA, and the offense currently ranks 7th by team OPS. And so even if they had a middle-of-the-road starting rotation, we might be talking about them in our next segment instead of here. Whereas a team that's competing for a third wild card spot in the AL, it might have gone that well for them if they had just had better performance from their starting pitching. So what they can look forward to this offseason and into the future, unfortunately, not a move just yet. It's going to be some years before they get out of the minor league ballpark they're in. Another team that doesn't technically have a home yet, that's not a major league ballpark anyway. And so I do have some faith that the front office will recognize what they have on their hands from a lineup perspective and improve around the margins where ownership allows them to. They've done it before in similar situations when they've realized, hey, we actually have some guys here. Let's make some moves and see if we can, improve a little bit. And then I mentioned the ownership restriction because there obviously is going to be some because, revenue is limited in the new stadium and, things like that. It's going to limit what their ownership probably allows them to do from a front office perspective. But I think that they do have the history that shows that when they feel like they have a shot to be an outside contender, they go for it as much as they can. So that's what I feel A's fans have to look forward to.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think the A's are, like you briefly mentioned, but just to highlight, like they also suffered from not having a home, really. I mean, they played in a minor league park this year, and I think that is a major factor why their offense was really good and why their pitching was really bad. Obviously, you have to have the guys to be able to do well, so I think like better pitching could have done better, but that park was a hitter's paradise.
Yep.
The ball really flew there. And just to highlight a couple more specific things they can look forward to, well, Nick Kurtz is going to easily win American League Rookie of the Year. He looks like already one of the very best hitters in baseball. And Jacob Wilson was no slouch either. So that's a couple of rookies at first base for Nick Kurtz and shortstop for Jacob Wilson. And then, yeah, the guys who have been good in the past. Tyler Soderstrom had a good year. Brent Rooker had another solid season. There are guys here to feel good about. I just would like to see what they can do with the pitching side of the ball.
Yep. And so it remains to be seen what happens there. But that's our ace thoughts for the year as we say goodbye to the 2025 Northern California Athletics. So let's bounce now to, geez, one you never want to do this, especially I guess except if you're Drew, maybe you do a little bit. But as a guy who's neutral on this team, you never want to hear this. But Drew, you are on the Baltimore Orioles, who we have to memorialize all too early.
Yeah, Baltimore Orioles, a team that many people, including us on this podcast, expected to be in the playoffs. They are going to finish most likely in last place in American League East. So their time of death, they were eliminated last week, Tuesday, the same day as the A's, as it happens. And their cause of death, well, their batch of young stars that they had coming up through the pipeline and who were a big reason why they made the playoffs the last 2 years just did not play to that level this year. The exception being Gunnar Henderson, but he did miss time at the beginning of the year, and it took him a minute to kind of get back in the groove. But second half Gunnar has been just as good as you would like. But I want to highlight Adley Rutschman. Really, 2 years in a row now where he just does not look like the star catcher that we all thought he was. And so much so that they had this top prospect, Samuel Basallo, who came up. He's a catcher. He was playing a little bit of first, a little bit of catcher, but he signed an extension. And it kind of leaves Adley Rutschman in this precarious position. And I'll segue that into what they can look forward to. Well, there still is a lot to like about this young roster. It's just the shine has worn off a little bit because this year was just not good all around. They also, I'm going to go back and forth a little bit. Cause of death also was they did not take care of the pitching staff. We highlighted that in the offseason. They needed to add somebody after losing Corbin Burns, and they just didn't do that. And I think it's Trevor Rogers. There's so many Rogers in baseball. Trevor Rogers was actually really good for them, so that's great. Kyle Bradish missed most of the year. He should be back next year. So, there are some reasons to be hopeful about the pitching side of things. And then, yeah, Gunnar Henderson, he's still on this team. Jackson Holliday did not have a great year, but he's still very young. I still expect good things from him. Colton Cowser didn't have a very good year. He's still young and growing. I expect good things from him. And like I said, Basallo, he got the contract extension. So I expect some trades from them. I think maybe this is finally the year where they dip into that pool of young talent. I think it may be a year too late. I think they won't get as much for these guys as they maybe could have this past off season. But it really depends who they're willing to give up. And I think they need to do it in order to get back into a competitive place in this division because they just looked really bad this year. But that being said, I expect next year to play the Orioles and be afraid of what their lineup can do.
Yeah, I think you have to see it from all of them for multiple seasons and multiple stretches in order to shut the door on any kind of competitive window that they might have. And we just haven't seen that yet. And so, the slow start this year was really, a big culprit here. And then, I think you're right. I think they can start to pick and choose which of these young stars they want to be on this team in the future. And then with the rest of them, try and get people who are established in some form or fashion. They don't have to be traded for big stars. They don't have to be traded for huge names. It's people who are established and can provide some veteran presence in the clubhouse and in the lineup. Some consistency would be helpful. And so that the whole team isn't on this they're young in the game mentally and also all developing at the same time. And so they have a tendency to just go with each other as they go. So like they're all doing well, they're all up, and they're all great. But if a couple of them start doing badly, it can be that thing where everyone falls, the mood gets down, everyone's production falls. If you had some veterans in there, they could help keep the stability because they're more accustomed to the ebbs and flows of a season. So I think that's valuable too. But yes, unfortunately,
And I'll
goodbye
just
to, yeah.
one last thing is I predict that Adley Rutschman will be traded this offseason because I think they've identified who they want to be behind the plate, and I think enough teams will remember what Adley was at the beginning of his career and remember what he's supposed to be, and take a chance on him, and he'll end up somewhere as a you know, fresh start, and I'm sure I'll be high on him. If he's I don't know, but if he's the Texas Rangers catcher going into next season, I'll
Sure.
be like, I expect a good year from him. We'll see.
Yeah, Rangers, I think maybe just today or yesterday, their ownership talked about payroll decreasing. So that could be in line with something like that, where, they want to do that and not ink the extension just yet for next year. You could definitely see that move happening. So, but yes, unfortunately, goodbye to a World Series pick of this show, I think. You said playoffs, but I think
I think I might
possibly.
have picked them to go to the World Series,
Yeah,
and
I knew someone. I thought someone did. So yeah,
it
just
it did have the caveat that they would get pitching help, but
right.
in the end it didn't matter either way.
Yeah. So yes, goodbye to the 2025 Orioles, and we'll say hello to 2026 as soon as possible for them, hopefully. All right, next team I am on is my Los Angeles Angels. They were eliminated on Sunday, September 14th. And look, the Angel season has been well documented on this show as part of Fan Corner. You've been along with us through the ups and downs, through my eyes. But the cause of death here, there's a few things, as is usually the case with the Angels. The starting rotation didn't hold up in the second half of the season. In the first half, people like Tyler Anderson and Yusei Kikuchi and also Jose Soriano were pitching very, very well. And the Angels, I think I want to say they were the team that made it furthest into the season before they used a sixth starting pitcher. And so the health was there and the performances were there to keep them, afloat in the American League and in the American League West even through their offensive struggles. But once that dipped, so went the team and so went the season. Yeah, I talk about offensive struggles. Logan O'Hoppe took a step back offensively this year, and also somehow the team lost production at the third base position. I don't know how that's possible, considering what we had last year. But it really just wasn't. It didn't work out very well. The people that they added to fill in for that, for Rendon in that spot, just did not produce. Either due to injury or just due to not being very good. And that's how that worked out. And so, yeah, those are the main reasons the season didn't work out for the Angels mostly. There were some really good ringer relief pitchers, like for long relief or, even closer positions that got injured pretty early on, serious injuries. So that didn't help. But Kenley Jansen was able to hold it down for the most part in the closer spot, and the emergence of Reed Detmers helped shore up the back end of the bullpen. But now he's hurt too for next year probably. So anyway, the button on the Angels season is it is hard to believe that they started the season with Tim Anderson and Jorge Soler in the lineup, because it's like what a long season it's been that was the case at the beginning of this very season, and now we're in the position we're in now. And it just goes to show how long a season can feel. But what they can look forward to for this offseason, Mike Trout doesn't need to worry about rehabbing an injury this offseason. He can focus all of his attention on kind of, why it maybe is that he kind of flattened out a little bit at the plate in the second half of the year. despite remaining healthy for the most part for the second half of the season. So he doesn't have that to worry about. He doesn't have to, take baseball activities easy. He doesn't have to. He can get in there. He can swing. He can, run. He can do everything that he needs to do because he does not have to worry about rehabbing a knee injury or a calf injury or some weird thing, back injury, as far as we know. And so the other thing is that they have legitimate young talent in a lot of places, the infield, the outfield, pitching staff, some of it's there. So they can build around some of this stuff if, provided that they're allowed to, which is a big caveat. But manager is going to be a problem because there's really no indication yet if returning to the helm of a baseball team is in the best interest of Ron Washington at this point. And so, they're going to have to figure out what they want to do at that spot. So that's going to be down to what he thinks is best for himself and, what the team thinks is best for them too. I'd love to have him back if he can get back, but it's just a matter of what's best for him. So he'll make that choice, and then the team will have to react to that if he decides to not come back. So that's the story on the Angels. They have a chance this weekend to really put a nice button on the season from the full league perspective. But we'll see how they do. I'm speaking, of course, about the opportunity to kick the Astros out of the club. But we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so that's the Angels for me. So, any Angels thoughts?
Just that I'm sure they'll make a couple of signings that will kind of make, like fans of the contending teams upset. Like, the Angels got him?
Yeah.
Because they always do.
I should have got that. Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. I mean, this was a year from the Angels that, while record, like win-loss wise, might end up similar to the last 10 years, but it did feel a little different. It felt like maybe a different vibe over there with these young guys, Zach Neto, Nolan Schanuel, Joe Adell, these guys like having pretty solid years. Taylor Ward had another pretty solid year, where you can talk yourself into, after a couple moves, them being a wild card contender, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. All right. So the next team, another one from before the season started. We did not think we'd be talking about this early in this part of the show, but here they are, the Atlanta Braves, and you are on the Braves.
Yeah, the Braves. I think Matt and I both chose to win the National League East, but as of Friday, September 19th, they were eliminated from playoff contention. And the cause of death, really, they had a really slow start. They played tough teams out of the gate, but they didn't win any of their first 7 or so games. And they just never really overcame that. They would kind of, win some and then lose a bunch, win some and lose a bunch. And there were some injuries, like Acuna missed the first month of the year. Strider missed a decent amount of time. All throughout the lineup here and there. And then just past year key contributors had down years. Michael Harris II has a real case for just most disappointing player, although he did have a better second half than his first half. Ozzy Albies did not have a very good year. So just, kind of a year where just everything went wrong for the Braves. There was also Jurickson Profar suspended for performance-enhancing drugs for half the season. So all these little things they had to overcome, and it was just too many, and they ended up being a below-average team. What they can look forward to, well, like the Orioles, there's a lot to like about the roster. There are still plenty of players where we've seen them have all-star years on both sides of the ball. But what's unlike the Orioles is that I trust this front office. I've seen them put together winning teams. I've seen them make big, bold moves. They were the poster team for locking up your young players to these team-friendly extensions. So they've done good things in the past where I can buy into the Braves year in and year out. Even if there's not a ton of roster turnover, it's still a decent roster. So One thing though is that, this is just like a little sneaking suspicion I have is that one of the most major names that could move this offseason is Ronald Acuna Jr. because he has said some things in public and I don't know about in private, but that seem to indicate there has been some frustration, some friction between him and management or him and the team. And their manager, Brian Snitker, is like there was like rumors of him maybe wanting to retire, but I think he kind of said no, I want to keep managing. So I don't know. That I just I don't really expect him to be traded, but like that is a name that you could see all of a sudden it being thrown around as a name that could be moved, which would be send shockwaves through baseball, to
It'd be
say the
massive.
least.
Be massive. I'd be like so like the second I hear that you know somebody anyone could say I'm hearing whispers of that I'd be locked into everything for until the season starts basically like
We're going to see so
because
many photoshops of him in a Yankees uniform, in a
mm,
Dodgers uniform, in
mm,
a Cubs uniform. We're going to see all that stuff.
it'd have to just be like everyone who is eliminated like after the NLDS and on. Like that's who is going to be
Yeah.
the Photoshop teams. Like everybody who didn't quite get there and all the way up until the second place in the World Series, like they're going to
And
be
I'll
a
throw
part
my hat in the ring. I would love to see him in a Red Sox uniform. I mean, who wouldn't want to see him on their team? But
We'd love to see it.
yeah,
But all right, so yeah, I don't have too many more Braves thoughts than that. I was just going to mention I don't know if we knew about the Profar suspension when we picked, and not that that would have really probably made a big difference, but that was
yeah.
part of it, I'm sure. And so yeah, so for the Braves, another shocker from the beginning of the year that they're eliminated before playoffs. But you know what? Goodbye to them. Look forward to next year. And then the last team we're going to talk about today, I have the Pittsburgh Pirates. So they were eliminated on Monday, September 15th. Um, Cause of death here, not too hard to see. Offensive production that ranked near last in almost everything in the entire major leagues. They just don't have what it takes from a lineup perspective to compete in any serious manner. And so the only reason that we're not talking about them, that we didn't talk about them last week being eliminated in August is because of what they have from a pitching perspective. They were able to win a lot of games because of the way that their pitching staff was able to keep them and their subpar offense in games for long stretches of the season. So they're done for this year for sure. And while I think this year might be kind of a disappointment, I think it was easy to see coming based on the lack of players that they added over the course of the offseason, quality as well. So what they can look forward to though for this offseason, I think Paul Skeens trade or extend discussions start now, and potentially getting hints as to how that's going to be resolved is going to help this fan base learn a lot about what the next little while is going to look like for them. Like if we get to November, December, and the comments coming are like, we are, open to, we're going to talk to the agents and we're going to have conversations and, things like that, then I'd say there's reason for fans to be optimistic. If it's like, we're not in a place where we want to talk about those, have those conversations with agents right now. If it goes that way, that can tell fans that maybe they can start saying their goodbyes, things like that. But I think those discussions start now, and that'll be a pretty hot topic once the winter meetings begin. And so, like I say, potentially resolving that debate one way or another will help this fan base get clarity on what the immediate future will look like for the team. So at least whether it's what you want or not what you want, at least you'll know. Here pretty soon, I think, based on the tone coming out of the front office when it comes to having these questions. So, that's the Pirates.
Yeah. Regards to Paul Skeens, he very well could win the Cy Young this year. Um, he's 23 years old. He's already put together, some of the best like through 50 starts in a career, the best ERA, like he's up there
Hmm.
amongst some of the all-time greats. And yeah, I mean, Pirates fans don't want to hear that he'll be traded. I don't really expect him to be traded this offseason because that's such a they will get quite a haul for him, maybe a haul we've never seen, but I think they can get a bigger haul at the trade deadline when teams are more desperate. He's not a free agent until 2030, so like even with no contract extension, there is no rush. Although, selling as high as possible. I don't anticipate him signing any kind of extension in Pittsburgh, but I think, yeah, we could hear the discussions, but it'll be a deadline move, if anything. And I think they'd be more inclined to keep him, even if the haul is significant, just because the Pirates are already under such scrutiny from people about how they handle this team. If they traded him now, I think it's just how do you come back from that? Even if the haul is awesome, and so yeah, we'll see. I don't have a lot of faith in this ownership group to really build around Paul Skeens, but I think you got to try.
You have, I think you have to try just for the sort of like just to be respected. Like I'd respect them more if they tried and burned out than if they just never gave it any even a small shot.
Right. It's why 29 fan bases really respect the Padres. It's like, no matter how they finish their seasons, they are going for it full force every year. And
Every
I
year.
think that's good.
Yep, worked out this year. Once again, they're going, and we'll get to that right now. So let's move on from talking about the teams that are down. Let's talk about the teams that are up. Some teams that might be down pretty soon, but teams that are up at the moment. As a caveat, before this conversation begins, we are recording on Tuesday. That would be September 23rd. So all of what we're talking about is as of today. And so what we're going to talk about now is just an overview of the stakes for the last weekend of the regular season. There's lots going on, lots of like well-scheduled series on accident, like really fun teams that are going to be playing each other, and we're going to have a lot of fun with it. So before we get into it, let's just talk about what is already decided. And so if you would please, Drew, walk us through who has clinched and what have they clinched so far.
Yeah, so there's two divisions that are wrapped up in terms of who's getting first place there. That is the National League East, where the Mets collapse and the Phillies' steady play has led to the Phillies running away with that division. So that's clinched for the Phillies. And then the National League Central, where the best team for most of the year, the Milwaukee Brewers, have already clinched that division. Um, and then there are there's five teams that have clinched an appearance in the postseason. It's just a matter of where they will be playing, wild card or division winners or what have you. That is the Toronto Blue Jays, the Chicago Cubs, the Los Angeles Dodgers, San Diego Padres, and as of this recording, I think it happened while we were talking here. The Yankees won, and that clinched their spot in the playoffs. So um, that means there is one spot left in the National League and two spots left in the American League. Obviously, that'll be wild card spots. And do you want me to go through how that
Yeah,
might play out? Or
yep,
okay,
go
yeah.
through them.
So
What's up for grabs here?
um, yeah, so the National League West is still up for grabs. The Dodgers are leading the Padres. I don't know if the standings are going to be fully up to date because games are happening and finishing and starting right now. But yeah, the Dodgers have a 2.5 game lead over the Padres, and uh, I'm going to say I predict the Dodgers will just seal that up at some point in the next few days. Padres will be comfortably that second wild card in the National League. The Cubs have already clinched their spot. They are 2.5 They have the same record as the Dodgers, so they're 2.5 on the Padres. So the Padres are trailing in the wild card race and in the division race at the same amount. So I think that'll just finish as it is. But the New York Mets, they were choking it away this whole last month or two. Um, and they were, as of today, they were tied with the Reds, and the Reds have a tiebreaker. And so they were actually technically out of a playoff spot. But the Reds did lose today, and the Mets are currently tied with the Cubs. So we'll see how that plays out. And in the American League, oh, and I'll point out in the National League that the Diamondbacks are not far behind the Reds and the Mets in the wild card race. They are only one game behind the Mets right now. So Diamondbacks and Dodgers are playing each other. So I don't know. That could shake things up, but I expect it'll either be the Reds or the Mets in for that third wild card spot. And I'm being told that our guest is ready. So
Okay.
if you want, we could put a pin in this conversation
Yep.
right before we get to the American League, because that will be
Let's do it. So
what,
let me tee
what we
this up
discussed. So
while we're getting ready. Let me tee what's happening. I teased a special edition of Fan Corner. Obviously, our teams have been covered, or we're going to cover them. Red Sox are part of this crazy weekend coming up, and the Angels have been memorialized. So what are we going to do about Fan Corner? Well, let's have a guest on, and let's have them take over Fan Corner for a team that is doing awesome this year, and had a really awesome weekend just now. And so what we wanted to do was bring on our one of our favorite Mariner fans. That's Drew's brother Tyler. He's going to join us any minute now, and we're going to ask him some questions about what it's been like to be a Mariner fan this year. Because obviously it's been great at times, and tense at others. Tense right now, incredibly tense this weekend. I'm sure we'll talk to him about all that when he comes and joins us. But that's what we're going to do. So very special edition of Fan Corner today. It's going to be super fun. I've been wanting to get the Mariner fan perspective on this show for a while, and so especially considering all that's going on with them. So and well documented our affinity for the Mariners. I know I shouldn't. It's against the rules, but there are reasons for why I do not hate the Mariners, and so it's always good to see them succeed. So hopefully that'll continue. But we'll talk about all that. We're going to talk to him about Cal Raleigh. We're going to talk to him about how this Mariners team feels different than like others. This fan base has been tortured by the Mariners' inability to take care of business when it needs to be taken care of, to rise to the occasion when they're supposed to. This team feels different than that. We're going to talk to him about all that. So it's going to be super, super fun when he joins us up. Here, any minute now. We're going to get Zoom bombed, even though we're not on Zoom.
and we'll talk about the American League playoff race with him in general, because he
Oh
does
yeah.
follow quite closely.
Oh
So
yeah. As long as he can join us, we'll keep him on because his thoughts are invaluable here as well as we talk about the wild weekend coming up. Um, but yeah, so it'll be great. Looking forward to it. Um, it's going to be sick.
and while we wait for him, I'll just go over that last AL wildcard spot, or
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the last one, because the last two, sorry.
Last couple. Yeah.
So
Couple spots.
yeah, it's between. Oh, here he is.
Here he
Join
Hello.
is.
us.
This is
Hello, fellas.
everybody. Welcome Tyler to Dingers and Stingers, our first ever guest, maybe.
Our
You've
first
never had
Yes.
guest
another guest?
that like came in and was live with us. I think so. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
All right. Well, welcome to the pod, my man. Um, and so you are here to discuss with us the Seattle Mariners, who are playing right now, and I assume are in front of you currently. Is that correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
Jorge
Uh,
Polanco's up. We're losing to the Colorado Rockies, 1-0.
already? Oh man.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yikes.
all right.
They
Well,
bunted.
well, that's the way to do it, man. Unless you're, uh, I'm not gonna bring that up. Tarek Skubal, crazy, crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But hopefully, guys, okay. Anyway, so the Mariners, they're in front of your eyes right now. You're a Mariner fan, one of the biggest we know. And so we wanted to ask you a little bit about this Mariners season because it's been really crazy, really up and down, really tense at times, really crazy. So
Yeah.
um, give me just a quick snapshot before we ask any specific questions. Give me a quick snapshot of like how you would describe being a Mariners fan this year.
Well, it was like really up and down. It's like really streaky baseball, you know. Um, so I feel like a contender that you're not worried about is one that is like, like the Phillies or something, where they're like, okay, they won four in a row, then they lost a series, they rattle off six, seven, eight in a row, and then get swept, and it's like, okay, but they're like pretty reliably in first the whole season, and the Mariners had flashes of looking unbeatable, like right now, unbeatable, where it's like everything's clicking, the pitching's insane. The pitchers are going 6 innings every night, striking out 10. The relievers are like locked down, and there's like intense defensive plays, crazy diving catches, all that stuff, and then they rattle off like 15 wins in a row, and they seem incredible, like the best team in baseball. And then they would just do what they usually do, which is like lose a bunch of games with the bullpen, or they're like the bullpen's tired because the pitchers aren't going very deep, and a bunch of pitchers are like going on and off the IL. Logan Gilbert was hurt. So snapshot, it was not a fun, like it was a fun season, but it was not like a safe. I didn't feel like how I do. I feel the best I've felt all season right now.
Yeah, it's interesting because in the American League as a whole, no one took off and became the team in the American League.
Right.
There was a few teams that had their turn as the best team in the American League, and I feel like the Mariners are having their turn right now, and you could argue this is the best time to have it, if as long as they can keep it going for the next few weeks.
Well, but if you watch the games, yeah. Usually, if I see a team on like an insane winning streak like that, it's kind of like when a hitter has like a crazy hit streak, and it's like Dan Ugla, and you look up and he's on a 50-game hitting streak, but his average is like 235. Where it's like, okay, but is this guy actually doing that good? And then you look closer and you see that he's got a bunch of like bloop singles and like dinky grounders and swinging bunts and stuff. And I definitely, when I see other teams going on that kind of tear, I'm like, I don't know if it's real. But these guys, the pitchers are just all finally healthy. Brian Wu, hopefully.
Yeah, I was going to ask about Brian Wu.
They said that he has to miss a start, and but then they were like, no IL stint. But I guess there's weird things with the IL and the playoffs anyway, so they're just kind of checking. He's day to day, right? But it was like a pec soreness or something weird. So it doesn't seem that serious. And then the rest of the guys have been awesome all of a sudden.
Well, and suddenly you're in a position where if the season ended today, you would have a bye out of the wild card round.
So plenty of rest, yeah. Mm-hmm. And probably Brian Wu, I would imagine, would start first game of the division series. But I honestly, watching all season, I'm not afraid of any team in the American League compared to the Mariners, at least right now.
I mean, it's how I've been, because we do a segment called Fan Corner where we just talk about our favorite teams, and it's been a big point when I talk about the Red Sox is the Red Sox are not necessarily ever proving to me that they're that good, but they have a chance because no one else is proving that they're that good.
Yeah.
And so I mean, just to be clear here, I'm not high on the Red Sox right now. Each Roman Anthony update seems worse than the last. I don't expect to see him again this year, and if without him, we're not going anywhere in the playoffs. But yeah, it's truly a wide open field, and even in the National League, I mean, the Dodgers are getting healthy at the right time, but yeah, it's really anyone's year.
Yeah, and I would have said that, even when the Mariners have been in that wild card hunt, and even after they lost those games, I was still like, If we can sneak in, I feel confident against anybody, like that we can make it a series. But lately, I'm like, my goodness, if the way they've been hitting, and the way they've been hitting is not just their typical like feast or famine thing. They're like Josh Naylor. I saw a clip yesterday of like, well, after Eugenio hit a home run, Josh Naylor's running up to Jorge Polanco and whispering stuff in his ear. That's like what championship teams do. Like
They're
where
picking up on
where
something.
they're the veteran hitter. The Yankees do this, the Dodgers do this, right? Where like the hitters are all talking to each other, all in a line. The Phillies.
It usually
Um,
means someone's tipping, right? Like someone's giving up something.
yeah, or they perceive that, or they're like picking up on something like that, but they're like talking to each other. And like I haven't seen Mariners teams do that before. This team is like really top down on the same page. It seems like.
Yeah, and so let's just start. Let's well, not start, but let's continue down that type of road about why this team feels a little bit different. Because at points in this season, specifically this last weekend, against the Astros, there has been like business to take care of, like in order to remain in the hunt, in order to remain competitive. And in the past, Mariners fans have been kind of plagued a little bit by the team kind of not always taking care of business in those situations. But this season, it seems like when they've needed to make something happen, more or less, they've made it happen. And no better example of that than this last weekend against the Astros when they swept them in that all-important series to try to secure the division, or at least a comfortable position going into the last week. So what has that felt like as a Mariner fan, longtime Mariner fan, to watch this team actually like really rise to the occasion when they were supposed to?
Yeah, well, it's so weird to not feel freaked out about a lead or like the classic joke is like when that year that King Felix pitched a perfect game, like a couple weeks later, this random dude on the White Sox, Phil Umber, pitched a perfect game against us, and he had like a 6 ERA. Like the Mariners have classically risen to the occasion on like a grand stage and then just like flopped in like a series like this, like against the Rockies in a series that we're supposed to win. And I do think, you go in like every team subreddit, they have a version of that, right? Like I feel like every fan that is watching the games is like they always choke in these situations, and it's like, yeah, well, that's just what happens when you lose.
Yeah.
So like it's just confirmation bias, but this year it does seem like. I mean, I hate to be like a all unk about it, but it's like, you know, these guys are uh, veterans. They're older and they've been around, and like Josh Naylor has played in big situations and performed well in them because they fed him. And you know, now the pitchers have been around. Now, like a lot of these guys were on the 22 team. Like I just think the experience helps. World Baseball Classic, a bunch of those dudes played on their
Mhm.
various teams and stuff. I think that's a big part of it too.
I think there's
Uh,
something to be said to the fact, and the Astros are really not playing well right now. The vibes have been bad ever since Framber Valdez, who, on purpose, on
yeah.
accident, or whatever,
Well,
crossed up his catcher.
and yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
But there has to be something like it could have been, you know, the Astros and the Mariners were tied and they were playing different teams, and the Mariners took care of business against the Minnesota Twins or something. But something about playing the Astros, the team that has run this division since 2017, the team that has really been a thorn in the side of the Mariners specifically, to be able to go to Houston and sweep a series there has to feel better than just like, oh, we passed that, we just happen to pass them in the standings because of the way we're both playing.
Yeah, I mean, it feels to me like when the Heat finally beat the like the aged 2012 Celtics. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like the Astros feel a lot like those old Celtics teams, where it's like these guys can't do it, and that like I mean, obviously everyone's hurt too, but like Altuve is old, and there
Yeah.
were a few plays where like he's trying his best, but he's slow. He like can't run that fast anymore. Carlos Correa like hobbles around the bases. You get two runners on, and it's both them. It doesn't really matter if Yainer Diaz gets a hold of one because they're only going station to station. And then their pitching is not what it used to be. Their framing is not what it used to be. You know, like their catching defense leaves a lot to be desired.
They need Maldonado back.
You're right.
Get him back.
It's just, you know, they're not a contender, and they're like not like a little unserious this year. And everybody would say that, you know, they were like, who's going to take this division? Because the Astros, you know, especially after trading Kyle Tucker.
And the Rangers had a little fear for a minute there. They still have the best run differential in the division, which is crazy. Yeah, I saw the Mariners. They've won 14 out of 15 games, and in that span, they have like a plus 60 run differential, and their season run differential is only plus 68. So really, these last 2 weeks, they've really just taken it to teams in a way that they haven't been. But talking about the Astros, just to transition momentarily. So the Yankees have officially clinched a playoff spot tonight, which means there's 2 wild card spots. Right now, it's the Red Sox and the Tigers, because the Tigers just got passed by the Guardians. And then the Astros are the only other team really with a chance at that spot. Who do you think is going to be the odd team out of the wild card?
I mean, I haven't watched a lot of Tigers games, admittedly, but it just seems like they're. This is funny. We were just talking about this because I was talking to Kayla about it, and I was like, the Tigers just have those young pitchers and young hitters, and they just kind of run out of gas at the end of the season. And then Kayla was like, it's funny that you are like an old man baseball fan, but in a 30-year-old body, because that's like a old person take. Like,
well, it's the exact opposite. What's happening to the Guardians right now is basically what happened to the Tigers last year. Like the Tigers were not good, and then they were the hottest team going into October. But yeah, the vibes are just atrocious in Detroit and in Houston right now.
Yeah,
where it's like, who's gonna outlast? And honestly, the Red Sox, the vibes are not that great either. They haven't choked away such a lead like these other teams where they're getting overshadowed. But the Astros have the A's and then the Angels. The Tigers have the Guardians, who are as hot as anyone right now.
I mean, they embarrassed them in that game. I watched a little bit of it.
Yeah, I watched that one too. And then they have the Red Sox this weekend, and the Red Sox in Fenway. The Red Sox will be obviously still trying as well.
Those
at
fans
that point
are going to be so crazy.
So
too.
I like, as much as I want to say that I think the Astros will be the odd team out, I kind of am leaning Tigers too. They've lost 7 in a row.
Like what they just said on the Mariners broadcast, that the Tigers choked away a 15.5 game lead.
Yeah, in July it was 15 games.
I did not realize it was that high.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about...
And now they might miss the playoffs altogether.
Yeah. We were talking about that division like it was tied up in July, and then now we're here, and they have lost the lead. It's crazy. But yeah, so I think, okay, so we have you guys' thoughts on that. But so Tyler, you think it's the Tigers? Maybe it sounds like you think may have the best chance to be out.
Think the Tigers look terrible. Yeah.
Okay, and then Drew says probably Tigers as well, right?
I think so, and I think it's going to come down to the fact that, I'll be rooting for your Angels, Dallas, but I think a Red Sox-Tigers series where both teams are playing for something, and the Red Sox already have the advantage by being ahead currently. I think the Astros just will be able to take care of those teams, and if they don't, then they obviously don't deserve to be in the playoffs. So
right.
Exactly.
But Tyler, one last thought on the Mariners as a whole, or not one last thought, but kind of one last little conversation point. So the player of the year, regardless of if he ends up winning MVP or not, the guy who has really been the main character of baseball this year is on the Mariners. for the first time since what, like rookie year Ichiro. What has that been like?
Well, watching Cal Raleigh, like, oh, and like Kayla said this, like, early, and like maybe it was like right before the All-Star break or something, but she was like, oh man, like I remember when he was just like a little like kid, like we watched him for like 4 or 5 years, grow up from like being in it. And when you see that those homegrown players like become a contender, it's so awesome already. And like his performance like over the last like 3 years as like arguably the best catcher in baseball has solidified him as that for me. But now to see him go to this level of like, I was just saying, like the way he interacts with players on the other teams, like they're all congratulating him, and then it's just like so awesome. Like if he's popular, then players will want to sign with us, like there's just like a domino effect of it that it's like, like we're on the map, which for however brief a time is really exciting.
So I think everyone is aware of how well Cal Raleigh is doing this year. But who, like, if you could highlight like two or three other guys that have really made it so the Mariners are in this position, who would you want to highlight?
Well, Josh Naylor is a difference maker. Like,
Trade deadline acquisition.
I mean, yeah, like as soon as we got him, it was immediate like churning lineup stuff. Just like, and already we were like one of the best hitting teams in baseball. But he has just, I just saw like he's in September alone, he's hitting like 350 with 4 homers and like 15 RBI. Like, he's putting up crazy numbers that like we haven't seen on offense in Safeco in T-Mobile. It's crazy. So then the other one I would have to say, like our Kevin Seitzer, our hitting coach that we got from the Braves, because our team was the worst in baseball in hitting last year.
Yep.
And now they're arguably the best, and that's a crazy difference.
Yeah. Yeah, Naylor has a 955 OPS in September right now.
Yeah.
But easily his best month of the year. So yeah, and yeah, I mean a hitting coach can make a world of difference. New manager this year, I know he came in at the end of last year, Dan Wilson. Yeah, it'll be exciting to see the Mariners get to host some playoff games. Looks like that'll happen. I'm not, we're gonna knock on wood, but it just one way or another, we'll see the Mariners in the playoffs.
Yep.
Which more often than not has not been the case. So
yeah,
congrats on the great year. We'll be rooting for them, except for one potential matchup.
I know. I was like, man, it's gonna be so awkward.
Yeah, it very well could be a first round. Although at this point, they might skip the wild card round. We'll see.
Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
All right. Well,
a lot can happen in the next 5 days.
A lot can happen. Are you guys for sure going to Seattle this weekend? Last question.
Oh yeah. So
okay.
Kayla and I are going Friday to Sunday after work, coming home Sunday night, and going to the Saturday game, which is also Clayton Kershaw's last start.
All right.
Confirmed?
Confirmed.
Hell yeah.
Okay, well,
so that'll be so crazy.
Doubly crazy out there for sure. So, yep, they got the Dodgers coming to town for the last series. May not have much to play for the Dodgers, so that could be beneficial. It could be go one way or the other, but it'll be a wild time nonetheless. But best of luck down the stretch here, buddy. Like we say, we talk about the Mariners well on this show a lot. So, best of luck down the road and best of luck this weekend as hopefully they can deliver a dub for you. But thanks for joining us, buddy. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see ya.
Bye.
All right. So thanks again to Tyler for joining
You
us. That
know,
was
I
awesome.
I think we should consider having guests on future shows.
Oh yeah, I think so too.
I think that went well.
That'd be a great idea. But yeah, for now, any last thoughts on the AL playoff race before we move on to the last couple segments here? I think we talked about a lot.
Yeah, I mean, just Red Sox winning tonight is huge when you're the team in the position of control.
Yep.
Um, every win matters. I just wanted to say because we're not, as you'll mention, we're not going to do a deep fan corner because we talked about the Angels
Right.
in a previous segment, and I'm going to talk about the Red
Yes.
Sox for a minute right now. Um, I just wanted to. I saved a screenshot of like the scenarios needed to
Mm,
make the playoffs for the Red Sox. So if we win, so this now has shifted because we did win already tonight. So there's 5 more games. If they win 4 of them, they're in regardless. Um, if they win 3 of them, and then the Astros or the Guardians, I guess throw the Tigers in there, lose only 1 game, we're still in. So that's a really good position to be in.
yep.
I'm not counting any chickens before they hatch. We've seen worse collapses before. We're seeing collapses across the league this year. I am not counting anything as a sure thing, but winning the first game against the Blue Jays when it was Giolito versus Gossman is massive. And now tomorrow we have Garrett Crochet on the mound. Um, and so every win matters. Every loss by I'll take an Astros loss, I'll take a Tigers loss, I'll take a Guardians loss. Well, actually, at this point, since the Guardians won, I now have to continue to root for the Guardians, and I have to root against the Tigers. I think that's kind of the way it's got to go now. But yeah, I'd love to see the Astros lose and keep that magic number shrinking. But winning this first game is a big first step. Let's just keep winning as many as we can.
Yeah. And then last thing on the Red Sox, doesn't look like a playoff return for Roman Anthony's possible this year, does it?
It's still like the quotes that came out today made it seem like if the Red Sox could somehow make the ALCS, that's still like a best case scenario for his return. And I like getting that far without him and then him with no rehab or anything just showing up at the ALCS, I wouldn't put it past him at all, but I'm just not going to I'm just not going to really count on him being a part of this. At this point, I am happy with, and I've said this for weeks now, I am happy with a playoff berth. If you can win a wild card series, that's icing on the cake. There's just not enough offense here. I don't think for a deep run, but the American League is pretty open. If we run into the right guys at the right time, Willie Abreu came back. Like there is a lane here. If the pitching really steps up, the bullpen has been really good for the Red Sox this whole year, and some guys have stepped up lately too to make me feel even more confident in that. So there is a path. It's just it's maybe too much to overcome. Without Roman Anthony, Jaron Duran hasn't been the same hitter. Alex Bregman hasn't been the same hitter. The only guy who's really been consistent is Trevor Story, and I just don't know if that's enough. But I I would like to see the Red Sox play some playoff baseball again, and it looks like there's a real chance of that happening. So I'll just be happy with that.
Right on, right on. Well, let's move on now as we race toward the end of the show here to our locked in segment and talk about some predictions. First, we'll talk about the predictions we made last week, and then we'll talk about the prediction we make for this week. And so we'll start with Drew here. So talk about your prediction from last week, and then give us yours for this week.
Yeah, my prediction last week was that the Tigers and the Blue Jays would clinch their division titles, as we've talked about. That did not happen, especially the Tigers have not
They
won
did
a
the
game since we last talked. So
they did the
I
opposite
would
of
not
whatever clinching
expect.
is.
Yeah, the Blue Jays have also not clinched yet. The magic number is 2 with them and the Yankees. The Yankees have just a picture perfect way to end the season. They play the White Sox, which they needed a miracle ninth inning comeback to win today, but they did get the win. So they play the White Sox for 2 more, and then they play the Orioles in New York. So a little easier path. The Blue Jays are playing, as we know, playing the Red Sox right now, and then who do they have this weekend? So this is the most I've ever had to keep track of going into the last weekend of a series. It's 26. Okay, so they play the Rays. Okay, so I still think the Blue Jays will win their division and perhaps even be the top seed in the American League. But the Tigers have choked that away entirely, and now I do not expect them, as I said, even in the playoffs. And I decided for the last week of the regular season to get really bold with my prediction this week. And I'm going to say we're going to get our first no-hitter of the year sometime in the next 5 days. I have no idea where it's going to come. I have a feeling it'll come in one of the meaningless matchups, like, let's see, the Cardinals and Giants are playing. They're technically tied, and I think might technically both still be alive, although I doubt it at this point. Maybe in one of those games we'll see a no-hitter. But we got to get one. I don't know the last time we had a full year without one. So it could be combined. I don't usually like to count the combined ones, but at this point I'll take it. There's going to be a team who finishes a game with no hits, and it's going to happen this week.
There you go. That is bold, and that when I make a prediction in place of Matt, I also go bold. So we'll get to it in a second, but my prediction is also bold. But as of right now, the Giants, for our In Memoriam segment, I get all the teams that are eliminated from the ESPN app and their numbers. So the Giants are at less than 0.1% odds to make the postseason, which means they're like one person's loss away from being eliminated, and the Cardinals are also 0.1. So not less than 0.1, but at 0.1, which also means that they're a loss or someone else's loss away. So essentially eliminated, yes.
They could just eliminate each other.
Yes, why don't they do that? They can trade off losses and eliminate each other one night, and then the next night, the next team gets eliminated. That's great. So last show, Matt predicted that Mike Trout would hit his 400th career home run, and he sure did. It was a good call. He was going to Colorado, so likely thing to happen is a home run in Colorado for a player who is still as good as Mike Trout is, and it was a monster. It's like 485 feet, like 111 miles an hour or something crazy like that. It was an absolute tank, and he got number 400, and he's got the sort of the monkey off his back a little late in the year, but he can swing freely up there now, the last week of the year, really start working on stuff. And then he doesn't have to, the good thing is, like, he doesn't have to go into next year sitting at 399 and just like overthinking every at bat, thinking about it. And so I watched the game. So like I was, present for that. And then after the game, he was obviously interviewed by the Angels broadcast. And the relief on his face was just very, like, usually Mike Trout doesn't tip his emotions too much. But he was very relieved, in the interview after the game, you could tell. And so, it was really nice to see him take a load off a little bit, after the game was over. And he got the ball back, which is great. And so he's got the ball now. Only the second active player to have 400 or more as of the moment. Giancarlo hit 450 just a couple days before him. He's the only other one. And so a couple milestones for some power hitters. But yeah, so good deal.
Let me just ask you this real quick. Where does Mike Trout finish his career over or under 499.5 home runs?
I'm gonna go with over. I think he hits 500. Yes. It would be about.
I think if he DHs for like 4 years at the end, like we've seen big home run seasons from him. I don't.
Oh yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
He's got about 6 years left. It would be like, if you do the math on that, it's like a little less than 25-ish, or like a little less than 20 per year from there, an average if you're going to go. And I think he'll hit a little bit more than that if he can play full seasons in the next few years. And so I do think he reaches 500. Yes, I do. Which that'll be a great moment as well. But yeah, my prediction for this week in Matt's place is that the team that falls out of the AL postseason, or one of the teams that we've been talking about that falls out of the AL postseason in the last week, will fire their manager before the start of the postseason. So I made that prediction in that timeline because it needs to be met by the next time we record. I can't just have an ongoing prediction. Like, they'll fire them at some point. So before the postseason starts, the AL team will overreact to dropping out of the postseason, and they will fire their manager in a big move. So that's my prediction for the next week. So there you go.
So that'll be AJ Hinch, Alex Cora, or Joe Espada, most likely.
Correct. Yes.
It would be
in all
one
likelihood.
of those three.
Which the three of, two of the biggest names at the manager position in baseball, and a guy who's done a really nice job in Houston, managing through, some teams that aren't as great as they used to be. So yeah, we'll see. But let's end now with our titular segment, Dingers and Stingers. It's where we give one bad thing a stinger and one good thing a dinger from the world of sports from the last week. So let's start with the bad and give us your stinger, Drew, for this week.
Yeah, my stinger for this week is Red Sox related. Trevor Story was chasing down this record of most stolen bases in a season without ever being caught. And I believe he got to 31. He was 31 for 31, and on his 32nd attempt was finally thrown out. And it's just a real bummer. Good for Trevor Story. He's finally had a healthy season, and he is, not terribly far away from a 30-30 season. That's really awesome. Great for him. I would have just loved if he was perfect on stolen bases. That was such a cool thing that was going on, like a cool little sub storyline. And he lost it with a week left to go. That was too bad. But, in the end, everyone gets thrown out sometimes. Still a very efficient year, but that was a real bummer to see. So that's my stinger.
Yeah, anytime that a streak comes that close to being able to be possible and then ends is crushing. And so my stinger for the week actually leaves baseball for a moment and goes to football. We will not have an NFL show this week, so this is a little way to work in a little something for us. My stinger is that by all estimations, as of today, Russell Wilson is probably finished as a starting quarterback in the NFL. I kind of came to that. Obviously, he was benched for Jackson Dart by the Giants today. He'll be the starting quarterback for them going forward. And so I kind of took a look after that at pretty much every team in the NFL. And I was like, are there any starting quarterbacks or backup quarterbacks that Russell Wilson would be a better option then for next year? And I don't think, unless the Saints don't draft someone, which is impossible, unless that's the case, I don't think that there is a situation that fits him as they'll sign him and say he's our number one going into the offseason. I do not think that is going to be possible for this coming year. And so realizing that, I think it might be possible that he is quite possible that he's done as a starter, in the NFL, which is it's real, it's factual. I watched Sunday Night Football. It looked bad. But it is just, one of those things where that's a guy that did me a lot of good and gave me some of my best sports years. And time marches and it leaves everyone in the dust. And so, the end of that era is on us.
Yeah, I think, obviously good years on the Seahawks, not good on the Broncos, gets
Right.
a second chance, not good on the Steelers, gets a third chance, not good on the Giants.
Yep.
Regardless of the situations, it's kind of hard to see him getting a fourth chance before another guy gets a second chance or even a first chance. You know what I mean? So I think teams will be more likely to chase upside than what Russell Wilson can offer. But hey, who knows? I would, if you told me in 2018 that in 2025 Joe Flacco would be a starting quarterback in the NFL, I would have been like, what? So we never know. I think he's a
And
guy who would like to keep playing as long as possible.
yeah, and that is the sort of caveat is that if he does stick around long enough as a backup in certain situations, he might get shots and, he'll, if someone gets hurt or whatever, and like he'll show that he can still be, he can deliver one win every month or so. And that might be good enough for a team that is in a holding pattern, waiting for a rookie to come up that they want to draft. And so you're right. He could very well play until he's like 40, and just be someone's backup. But I think, and I see that for him. I do, because I think he'll stay in the league. I don't think he'll retire or anything. But I just think as far as like, a team saying, we signed him, he's our guy, I don't think that's happening anymore. And that's wild, considering it was not that long ago that we were letting Russ cook in Seattle. And, now we're here. But all love to him. But yeah, it was kind of a moment today for me, for sure. But let's end on the good, and let's go back to dingers. So give us your dinger for the week, buddy.
Yeah, this was just like a nice little moment that happened. The A's went to Pittsburgh to play a series, largely meaningless series, but A's shortstop Jacob Wilson, his dad, Jack Wilson, was a Major League Baseball player. He played most of his years on the Pirates, and so they did a cool thing where they had Jack Wilson come out to throw out the ceremonial first pitch, and they invited Jacob, despite the fact that he's on the opposing team, they invited him to come out and be the catcher. And I think it was a really cool moment, and they showed on the screen a video from when Jacob was like a little kid, and he threw out the first pitch to his dad at a Pirates game way back when, like 2006 or whatever. And it was just a cool full circle moment, like largely meaningless in the span of a full MLB season, but it's just a cool moment. And it reminded me of like when the Giants came to Fenway Park in 2019 and they invited Carl Yastrzemski to throw out the first pitch and Mike Yastrzemski caught it. Like it's just these cool like moments where we can just appreciate what baseball is rather than like just hyper competitive, and especially two teams that had been eliminated from the playoffs. It really didn't matter. It was just a cool thing to see.
Yeah, man. If you and if you and your son play in the majors, both of you, at some point, you know, that's incredible. Considering how few people make it to that level. And so, you want to have those moments. And I'm glad that, when they've come up, teams have taken advantage of that, especially recently, because you want to have those and give them that, because it is so incredible when that happens. But my dinger for the week is what I teased at the top of the show here. Today, MLB announced that the automatic balls and strikes challenge process is coming to the league in 2026. And so, we're not waiting around for no reason anymore. It's more than time to bring this process to the major leagues. It's been well tested in the minors and through spring training. It's worked well. Players like it. Managers like it. And so
It's quick.
it's quick. There's no effect on the speed of the game here. And so all the concerns have been mitigated, and it's time to go. And so we are going to have a automatic review, an automated review challenge system in MLB next year, which is going to be super, super good and super awesome because this year has illustrated how much we need it. big games. I'd love to be able to think of even one off the top of my head at the moment, but there have been moments where we've erupted on missed calls that have swung big games.
Uh, yeah, and it's huge for guys like off the top of my head, I'm thinking of Aaron Judge, a guy who consistently gets a low strike called on him. Uh, if he has a good knowledge of the strike zone, that's huge for him. He can tap his head. I know Roman Anthony. I've seen him strike out plenty of times on pitches a couple inches off the outside of the plate. And look, I'm not gonna sit here and be like the umpires are terrible. Like it is a very hard job. If you ever see the ump cam and the
Yeah.
pitch comes in, like it's so fast and things are moving and everything. I respect how good they can do, but I think it says a lot that they are into this idea. They want to implement it because they don't want to mess up a big call. They want to get their calls right. And so
Hmm.
we've seen replay review, um, and for other things in baseball, it's pretty much helped. I would say getting as many calls right as possible. I think this was the logical next step, and I think it's going to be a good system, and I think it shouldn't need replacing. Like I know a lot of people are afraid of robot umps and taking out the human element. I don't think it's really going to do that. Because it's only a couple times a game, and then you can keep it if you keep getting it right. But um, yeah, I really don't think it's going to be any kind of big problem. I think it'll only be a positive for our game, and I'm really excited.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with all that. The thing is, like, it's still a thing where, like in NFL, the managers and players are going to have to pick and choose when they do it. It's not like, they can just do it in the third inning for no reason just because. Like they're gonna save at least one for high pressure scenarios and high stakes scenarios if it comes up that they need it. And so it's not going to be this thing of where, every at bat someone's going to be tapping their head. They have to be strategic about when they use it. And so it's a well tested, well thought out rule, and I think it'll be very, 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 very beneficial for the game. So it's going to be good. Um, all
And
right.
and I'm
Yeah.
curious who teams are gonna give the green light to use it because I know there's going to be
Hmm.
strategy involved, but I'm willing to bet there's going to be certain guys where they're like, you are no longer allowed to tap your helmet because you just have no idea. um,
Exactly.
and I think we'll see some good. It'll be like a new catching stat is how often a catcher was able to correctly identify a missed call and fix it for their team. So there's going to be all sorts of stuff, and I think it's all going to be good.
Yeah, 100%. Well, that'll do it for this week's show. We appreciate you watching. If you tuned in, make sure to subscribe here on YouTube and, follow us on Instagram as well at Dingers and Stingers. Hit the comments with, your thoughts on this wild weekend that, probably has already gone down by the time you're hearing this or is about to go down by the time you're hearing this. And let us know who you think has the best shot. Let us know how it worked out. And if you have any thoughts on the teams we memorialized this week, feel free to drop them there too. But we appreciate the all the love. We thank you again to our guy Tyler for joining us. It was fun to talk Mariners. And until next week, that's all for now, and we will see you then. Goodbye.
Bye.